Hi, my name is Nick. I am the founder of Cartoon Bros. So, it all started back in uh, I'd say about 2015. I love to watch cartoons, especially on Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network. I grew up watching Nick Jr., SpongeBob, Cartoon Network shows like The Amazing World of Gumball, that sort of thing. And then I started getting into more shows that got deeper and deeper. One day, before going to school, I saw a documentary play on my TV. It was Captain America 75 Heroic Years, talking about the making of Captain America, people making their own comics. I was all like, wow, people get to make their own comics. That's incredible. So I wanted to make my own comic because since anybody can make their own comic, I might as well make one of my own. And that was pretty much how the studio started. Pretty much started off as making comics, with the first one being about a superhero bee called, well, the Bee. Looks bad now, but you know what? Everybody starts somewhere, and the first thing you make is not usually the best thing you work on. But my first piece of art actually was when I was 4. I painted a rainbow. Good times. Very, very good times.
But then I got inspired by the creative works of Disney, and I was just always impressed by the talented work and the creative vision that Walt had for his ambition, his dream. It inspired me to make my own cartoons. It first started off on Instagram, and then it slowly started gaining a popularity of its own. And then we made more cartoons, and I have my little office space where I made my cartoons inside my bedroom. Work was good. Very good. One day, I got a fever, and so I had to stay home from school. And I was laying down in bed with my grandmother, and was watching TV. And I watched on YouTube this animator, Andy Bailey, or as he goes by on YouTube, Andymation. And he worked on the Leica movies like Coraline and Box Trolls and Paranorman. Well, he didn't work on Coraline, but he also worked on Kubo. And I was just amazed by the talented work that he did on those flip books, and obviously by the movies. But then a new video came up on the same day that I had that fever, and it led to a life changing experience.
Poor old John, poor old John, long white bones with the skin all gone. Ooh, wouldn't it be chilly with no skin on?
And I was amazed. Like, I was really amazed by how beautiful and how amazing the animation was. And the music, oh my god, the music, it was so good. And it just sort of dawned on me, like a sort of idea to take the concept from the Ghost of John and to make something new out of it. You know, kind of like Ratatouille. Now, with every movie, there's development changes, and Hope was no exception to that. The original story was completely different. Well, okay, not completely different, but you get the picture. Now, when I saw the film, I thought about how beautiful it was that the ghost gave hope to the skeleton. So it made me think about how people help the homeless inside of the city. So I thought about a guy giving some food to a homeless skeleton, so that way, he might have a little hope in his life. That remained the same, but the ending was different. Originally, the skeleton was going to live with the guy, and they were gonna become apartment buddies. And then one day, no, during one night in an alleyway, they would find this little girl who was abandoned, and they would adopt the kid and make it their own. But I honestly just thought that it honestly wouldn't make sense. I don't know why I thought it didn't make sense, but honestly, I just felt like it was going away from the point of the story, even though it makes sense. But whatever the reason, I just honestly thought, I don't know. I don't think this idea will do this justice. So I decided to scrap and then go with what I had left over. I scrapped the whole baby thing and then continued on. So now it would end with them in the apartment as what would you call it? Roommates, I guess? Apartment buddies? However you call it. Yeah, the skeleton would have lived in the guy's apartment and they would have lived together. But honestly, I thought a little bit more about it and thought that might be a little bit suggestive considering about how society is today. So I honestly decided to scrap the idea and just end it with I just decided to cut that out. It was probably for the best. At least I think it was probably for the best. So yeah. So then it became the movie that you all know today. So I start working on the animated film. I begin the animation. I was animating inside of the studio, which was also my bedroom. I would animate there a lot and spend most of my free time from school in there, while also watching inspirational videos and videos that can keep me entertained while I make entertainment. But I'm gonna be honest with you. I did not realize that the development of an animated film is not an easy task. You know, I honestly just went in it with open arms and with hope, pretty much. Hence, which honestly is kind of ironic considering about the movie's title. But anyways, so then I realized I couldn't do this alone, and that's when I decided to go ahead and start looking for help. And by help, I mean by family and friends.
So when Nick first asked me to help him with this project, I was a little skeptical at first. I was like, can he really do this? Is it really like enough time to do this with the time he has in school and all his homework and all of this? But I reluctantly decided to help him. And slowly we began working through the project, and we got through about, I would say 30% of it, just me and him. That's probably a very high overestimate, but basically just me and him weren't enough. So we ended up needing to get other people. But I'm really glad that I was able to actually help him work on the project and just help out my brother in general.
But then, even with just the two of us, we couldn't do it alone. So then I had hired my mother and my sister to work on the coloring for the movie. We made some pretty good progress onto the movie, even though it still took a very long time considering about all of our schedules and all of that. But we managed to work the hardest that we can on this project. There was definitely lots of challenges with it too. We did change locations of the animation studio into a different office space, not to mention that there was also the challenges of animating the skeleton, which was definitely quite a new challenge for me, which was something I've never done before. The hardest thing that you ever do as a human, that people will say. The toughest thing that people will say that will be tough to draw is a male human being, and I can see why. It's definitely quite difficult to get the proportions right and to make it look more realistic of the design that I was looking for. But nevertheless, I somehow managed to get it done, thanks to my mother helping me design the character too. We worked really hard on the movie, and I stayed up about as much as I can with the permission of my parents, so that way I could do as much of the movie as I can. It took a lot out of me, but it was definitely worth doing the project. So then we continued working on and on, the drawing, the inking, and the painting, until finally... we finally finished the movie. And this is how many frames it took to do this. It's about as big as my shoe of this pile. I'm just glad it's finally over. So, the movie comes out, and then people loved it. They actually saw it. I just couldn't believe that other people besides myself would actually watch this movie. And they did. And people just loved it. They loved the movie. And I was glad that people loved that I was able to tell such a story and that people actually were entertained by it. It still blows me away to this day that people like what I made. Looking back from how we were then compared to how we are now, it's just fascinating that it started off as this idea, this dream of wanting to do what the other animators did and do animation. And throughout nearly 10 years of doing that, it led to creating an animated film at a pretty premature age. Even though it's not the longest film, or not one of the prettiest, or like one of the best edited, or one of the best in general, I'm honestly just proud that we were able to make something that was beyond what we've usually made, and that we made something very special that could be an inspiration to other people to want to work in the art business. And I'm just thankful to my family, God, and my loved ones for this journey that I've been going through. And honestly, I just can't wait to see what the studio does next. But if there's anything that anybody could take out of a journey like this, it's to not give up. And that anything can happen, no matter how small you are. Because dreams come true, no matter what.